So this is settings, and it's split into 4 tabs: audit, integrations, account, and advanced. Right now we're in account. That's where you pick your default mode, handle your license, and hook up the optional AI stuff. The other 3 are there for when you want to fine-tune how audits run, wire up other tools, or dig into the deeper knobs, but you don't have to touch any of that today. User mode is where you pick the view the extension opens with every time you launch it. There are 3 flavors: owner, power user, and dev, and whichever one you set here becomes your starting point on the next launch. And don't sweat the decision too much, because you can flip between modes anytime with the persona switcher pinned in the side panel. This just sets your default. Under the license heading, you'll find current tier, and this one's showing team. It's a plain rundown of everything your license unlocks: unlimited components, unlimited baselines, the full state matrix, storybook auto-iterate, and both JSON and serif or JUnit exports. It's all spelled out in one spot, so you never have to guess what you're paying for. This part is called active license, and it's where all the details of your paid plan live in one spot. It spells out your plan and seat count, the email tied to it, whether it renews or has no expiry on file, and your license token, with a copy option for when you need to paste that token somewhere. And if you ever need to make changes, managed subscription takes you straight to your billing, while the options to use a different token or remove the license from this extension sit alongside it. Now let's talk about crash reporting. When you turn on Send Anonymized Crash Reports and the extension trips over some unexpected error, it'll quietly send me the error message in a redacted stack trace so I can figure out what broke and fix it. Your URLs, your emails, your license tokens, all of that gets stripped out before anything leaves your machine, and none of your actual audit data ever goes anywhere. Now let's talk about AI augmentation. And here's the honest truth: you really want this turned on. Technically, your audits will run without it. Xcore, the DOM analyzers, the state matrix pass all work no matter what. But that's only the foundation. With AI switched on, this tool goes way beyond what ACTS and the structural checks can catch, reading your pages the way a real person would, and without it, you're honestly only seeing a shadow of what this extension can really do. Now here's a checkbox called Enable AI Augmentation, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Turn it on, and your audits get a second layer that reads the page the way a person would. See, the regular checks can spot that an image is missing alt text, but they can't tell you that image. As your alt text is useless or that a heading called Section 1 doesn't actually describe anything, that's the stuff AI catches. The judgment calls a machine alone just can't make. Once AI is enabled, you pick your provider from this drop-down. Right now that's Anthropic, the folks behind Claude, with OpenAI and Gemini stubbed in for later. Whichever one you choose, your key gets sent only to that provider and nowhere else, so you always stay in control of it. This is where you paste your API key, the one you get from Anthropic when you sign up to use Claude. It's stored locally, on your own device, and it never goes anywhere except the provider you picked. I don't touch it, I never see it. That's the whole point. You bring your own key, you pay Anthropic directly for what you use, and nobody's data is sitting on my servers. Now, model override is optional. It's a field where you can name a specific Claude model to run your audits, and if you leave it blank, we just use the provider's default, which is fine for most folks. But if you want cheaper, lighter checks, drop in a Haiku class model, and you'll pay less per check. And right under that is the per-audit cost cap in US dollars, where you set the hard ceiling on what any single audit is allowed to spend, so you never get a nasty surprise on your bill. Now let's talk about checks to run. This is the list of AI checks that fire on each audit: alt text, headings, sensory language, ARIA semantics, images of text, color-only meaning, generic link text, wall of text, and language mismatch. Each one hunts down a different kind of problem a machine alone would miss. My honest advice is to leave every one of them checked. Each covers a real piece of WCAG, so keeping them all on is how you get true, complete coverage, and the cost of running them is just pennies, which is nothing next to what a single real accessibility problem can cost you. So you've pasted in your key and picked your provider. Now the connection test is where you make sure it all actually works. Hit Test Connection, and it fires a tiny 5-token call to your provider, just enough to confirm your key checks out and your account's funded. Costs you about 1/100 of a cent, and it saves you the headache of running a full audit only to find out the key was wrong the whole time. Now, there's a spot called local usage. That's where WCAGcheckr keeps a running tally of what your audits have cost, tracked locally on your device. Here's the catch. The AI providers don't hand out your live balance through their tools, so that number is my best local estimate, not the gospel truth. When you want to know exactly what's left in your account, follow the link to console.anthropic.com, over to Plans and Billing, and check your real balance there. The State Matrix, under the Audit tab, is where WCAGcheckr decides how many versions of your components to test. Every pseudo-state like hover and focus, every theme, both directions, and each breakpoint. Add those all up and you're running 72 audits per component, which sounds like overkill until you remember a broken focus outline is exactly the kind of thing that gets you sued. My advice? Leave this cranked all the way up for full coverage. A dev with a very specific reason might trim it back, but for you, more is better here. Over on the Advanced tab, this is the remediation trail, and it's the part that saves your bacon if a demand letter ever shows up. When auto-save an evidence pack after every audit is switched on, every audit you run gets bundled into a dated, anchored report and tucked into your Downloads folder. Nothing gets uploaded. It all stays right here on your machine. I'd leave it on with all 4 formats checked, so you got a court-grade record ready to go. A developer might trim which formats they keep, but for most folks, more evidence is better than less. Now the rest of Advanced, the report download behavior setting, the audit cache under performance, and the custom rules section, those are all the fine-tuning knobs. Skip the download confirmation, just decides whether your evidence bundles land straight in downloads or ask you first, clear audit cache. Wipes the shortcut that skips rework on repeat audits, and custom rules lets a dev enforce their own design system checks. Honestly, for full WCAG coverage, you can leave every one of these exactly as they are. They're here for the geeks who need to tweak something specific, not for the rest of us.